Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gav Major and this is my top 5 wish list. Basically top 5 ships I'd like to see coming to World of Warships Legends in the future. Now these ships are very wish listy. Some of them are ships which are on the PC version of the game. Some of the ships are ships which haven't even been modelled by Wargaming in any of their games. However, the ships chosen are simply because I like the ships, I like the history of them, or I like the look of them. So none of these ships have been chosen because they give any form of gaming advantage, or I'm not aware of any kind of gaming advantage from them, is the best way to put it. So you have to bear in mind that I have quite a passion for history, but I have quite a passion for Royal Navy as well, so don't be too surprised by some of the ships chosen. However, I guess there's always room within this list because I choose classes of ship, and so therefore with some of those classes you would have that flexibility of being able to introduce the ships as part of the Commonwealth Navy under the RAN, RCN and the RNZN. So first off, let's start off at number 5. So at number 5 I would like to see a Littorio-class battleship come to the game. Now the Littorio-class battleships are an Italian battleship class which were built between 1934 and 1942. They do feature 9 15-inch guns in 3 triple turrets basically, and I like them because I have a little bit of a soft spot for the Italians, because the Italians were the only real nation or the Axis power which engaged the Royal Navy in a big gun fleet action. The Germans kind of came out in dribs and drabs, and the Japanese focused on aircraft carriers. I mean, that was all an aircraft carrier battle really going on down there, or aircraft versus ships as well. So it was only really the Italians which engaged the Royal Navy in big fleet actions almost. Battle of Cape Matapan is one that always comes to mind, and also the Mediterranean is quite an interesting theatre, I guess you could say. It's very good for wargaming, so it does make quite interesting scenarios for tabletop. And then the Littorios also interest me because of the really quirky engineering behind them. They've got a really quirky armour scheme. Whether or not it actually works is another question. They have a really quirky torpedo bulge. Whether or not it actually worked is another question. And they have a really odd, like lots and lots of range finding equipment fitted. I mean, you can see above the bridge structure there's that almost like wedding cake tier of multiple range finding devices, and it's basically because the Italians just went, well, we won't commit to a single type of range finding device, we'll have them all. So overall the ships are really quite quirky and they really do quite interest me. Now there are Littorio-class battleships in the World of Warships PC version. These are the premiums Impero and Roma, and if they came out to the game they would be at tier 7. And this also shows another one of the quirkiness is that Italian red and white bow painting as well, just to make it easier to identify their ships in the Mediterranean. That takes us on to number 4. And at number 4, some of you are going to say we've already got one of these, but I'd like to see one in this configuration, if that might give it away. I'd like to see a tribal class destroyer in the pre-late 1940 modification. What that means is basically in the late 1940/early 41 they modified the tribal class based on the experiences from the Norway campaign, where they removed X turret and replaced it with a 4-inch dual purpose anti-aircraft twin turret, basically like 2 guns. I would like to see a tribal class with the original loadout of 4 dual gun turrets of 4.7 inch. And amusingly, we know that Wargaming can do it. This is HMS Cossack from World Warships PC, and it's a photo from the rear deliberately because I want to show the 2 4.7 inch gun turrets. I'd like to see that come to this game. Obviously, we've already got Cossack in her current form, so therefore we wouldn't be able to get Cossack again. And unfortunately, Haida wouldn't qualify to come with this loadout. So whether we could see another tribal class destroyer. But due to the naming convention of the tribal class destroyers, there's going to be a little bit of politics behind which one you could pick, whether that would be, say, HMS Zulu or HMS Eskimo or HMS Gurkha or Frigi. There's quite a few choices. It's just making the right one that's not going to upset anyone. If they did come to the game, then they would be tier 7 on par with the Lightning, which would be really, really nice. So moving on to number 3. At number 3 we have Courageous-class aircraft carrier. I really like the Courageous-class aircraft carriers. That's Courageous, Glorious and Furious. It's the shape of them. I really like the really strange shape of the flight deck, and then that quirkiness of having that open front as well to allow aircraft to take off while you still have aircraft landing. And obviously when it came to World War II, as you can see, that started to fall out of favour because the aircraft started to get bigger, you couldn't really have them taken off at the front, so they started to use the front area as an additional area for anti-aircraft guns. But yeah, it's one of those things. I've always liked the shape of them, and we know that they will come to the game eventually because here's HMS Furious from the PC version of the game. So yeah, showing off those lovely curves. And yeah, Furious is quite a strange one because she has this really tiny little island rather than like the one that Glorious had that you just saw before. But I'll take Furious, I'll be happy with that. At number 2, we have something that is incredibly wishlisty, and I don't even know if we ever will get this, but it is Renown-class battlecruiser, and specifically HMS Renown post 1939 reconstruction, because she looks beautiful. She goes for a refit along the lines of what Warspite went through, and you can just see those lovely lines that she has. And so she's got 6 15-inch guns in 3 dual gun turrets. She's also got 20 4.5-inch guns in 10 twin turrets, so she'd be quite vicious. She should have quite a decent anti-aircraft layout as well, because it's the post-1939 layout, so she would have quite a lot of anti-aircraft fitted, and she would come with a spotter aircraft. I suspect she'd come in at tier 6, but they could always tweak her up a tier or down a tier depending on what they wanted to do, but ideally I think tier 6 would be nice. I know another British tier 6 battleship, but yeah, no, I really would enjoy that. Well, that takes us now on to number 1. And at number 1, some of you are going to think, oh god, we don't need more of these. But yes, I think we could do with a Dido-class cruiser. So Dido-class cruiser, 10 guns of 5.25-inch caliber. So that's 5 dual gun turrets. Now, she's not in the PC version, unfortunately, but she is in the mobile app version as HMS Sirius. So we know that Wargaming does have a model, and therefore it's only simply a matter of time, I hope. But almost imagine her as a British Flint without one of the turrets on the rear. But probably slightly better torpedoes. I bet they would give her, if they put her at tier 6, they'd probably give her the same torpedoes as the Lightning, and if they put her at tier 5, then she's probably going to come with the same torpedoes as the Jervis. So either 8 or 10 kilometers of torpedoes, but also she'll come with a smokescreen. She is an anti-aircraft cruiser, so maybe she might come post carriers, which would be nice. But if she came pre-carriers, I still wouldn't complain either. Lots of 5-inch guns, or 5.25-inch guns I should say, and ironically came from the same design specification as the tribal-class destroyer. So basically the design specification went out and there were 2 designs, the tribal-class destroyers and the Dido-class cruisers, and so they built a bit of both. And yeah, I'd like to see Dido, or Sirius I should say. But then there's also some other variations of the Dido-class cruiser that they could do, where it only has 8 5.25-inch guns, or it has lots of 4-inch guns, or the 4.5-inch guns instead, because there's so much variation in the Dido classes. Well, that's my top 5. Yeah, so there's only really one non-Royal Navy ship, that's the Littorio-class battleship, but then you could always have a Commonwealth Tribal class destroyer possibly, or a Dido-class cruiser possibly. Renowned is very specific, as in what I want to see. I want to see that exact ship and that exact reconstruction, basically. But yeah, does this top 5 tickle your fancy? Do you have your own top 5? My top 5 is very Royal Navy orientated because that's what interests me, but then some of you guys out there might like our IGN or USN, or maybe have some other nation ships. Be as wishlisty as you want. Comment down below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to subscribe, and if you aren't already subscribed, then thank you very much. If you have any of your own game captures that you'd like to submit for commentary as part of the amateur reports, our email address is down in the description. I've been the Gallifrey Major, and back to the port.